Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all. Hey, look who's back. It's that guy. So let me just tell you a quick thing. It's Brian Clark. I just learned that in the spring, this coming, he will be celebrating his 30th year of performing for Unity and writing custom music for Unity. So we'll tell you more about that, but we're plotting and planning for the spring to celebrate that landmark. So here we go. Would you please welcome Brian Clark?
Good morning. What a glorious day for August. It's lovely. The great part about the 30 years is you get a working relationship with all the ministers, and you learn so much from them, and it has changed my life. The first minister that I really became close with was Royal Satterley, who sort of adopted me, because I would show up at his house anytime he wanted to do one of his lectures. I'd be there in his kitchen with him, and so he helped a lot. And then, are you familiar with Blaine Tinsley? So this song, well, a lot of the songs I've written are basically, they were written for a specific service that when I would talk to the minister about what the message was going to be, and so I would look around for songs that would support it and inevitably find that it would just be easier to write one. So this is one that comes straight from a saying of Charles Fillmore, which you'll figure out which one it is in the song. So it's like somebody said, the name of this song is Yesterday. Yesterday. So. Science is searching with her shining machines into each crevice of creation, singing songs of discovery between the patterns in the heavens and the sea below. What they are finding, we already know. There is no color, there is no cloud, there is no empty room, no roaring crowd, no conversation, no situation, no confrontation, no broken vow. No, there is nothing, nowhere, no hidden spot. There is no place God is not. So here is your comfort, and here is your prayer. Here is the strength to move through whatever is there. And here is your joy in a moment of pain. Here is your sun in a droplet of rain. There is no color, there is no cloud, there is no empty room, no roaring crowd, no conversation, no situation, no confrontation, no mended vow. No, there is nothing, nowhere, no hidden spot. There is no place God is not. There is nothing, nowhere, no hidden spot. There is no place God is. There is no place God is not.
Thank you, Brian Clark. I can't imagine a better song to begin our service today. That was absolutely beautiful. We're so glad to have you back. Thank you. And Steve, it's good to have you back. Steve Schenkel, who was at the Muni last week, but he is back with us, and so it's good to see everybody. Welcome to everybody. We just are so happy to see you. We know that you had many choices for your Sunday morning or whenever you might be watching the service, and we're so glad that you chose us. We know that each one of you brings something unique and wonderful to this spiritual community, and it is our fervent prayer that you are taking away just exactly what your soul needs from this service. I want to welcome any of our first-time guests or even second or third-time guests. We're so glad you are here. If you would like to grab a visitor's packet, they're on the table by the door, the front door. And if you'd like to fill in one of our little guest information cards, if you've not already done so, we would be happy to send you a complimentary subscription to our Daily Word magazine. And if you're watching from online and you'd like to take advantage of that offer, just give us a shout out on our webpage, unistl.org. Gratitude today goes to our amazing sound and visual engineer, Mr. Jeremiah Bircher. Would you give him a hand? He is just amazing. I usually call him Jeremiah, you've got this, Bircher, but now I'm going to say, I think I'm going to call him Jeremiah, thank you God, Bircher, because he has just been amazing. He's here all the time and just working tirelessly for us, and your talents are much appreciated, Jeremiah. Also, thanks to today's prayer chaplains, Ann Hartupee and Lynn Mark, and to all the prayer chaplains who, along with our prayer circle, led by Pam Seeger, have just held spiritual space for us throughout some very trying times and hold spiritual space for us always. I have a few announcements. Just a reminder, the discussion group that Ann is leading on our book that we are completing today, actually, in Sunday service, but she has one more discussion group. It will not meet next week, but they'll meet the last week, which is the 29th of August, in the adult classroom. It's still not too late to come. Just join her. I always say this book really begs for discussion, so that would be great. Registrations are required only if you're going to connect by Zoom. So also mark your calendars for Unity World Day of Prayer to be held on September 9th. The prayer chaplains will hold the sanctuary open all day from 8 in the morning to 7 in the evening. On the hour, we'll be doing a silent unity prayer service, so join us for that. It's about 10 minutes, and you can spend your time meditating, praying. We have some little things for you to read, or praying with one of our prayer chaplains, so the sanctuary will be open all day. So I want to say that these prayer request forms are now out on the table. I've spread them out with gloves so that nobody's really touched them recently. There are pens out there for you to use. They are for you to fill in your prayer requests. The prayer chaplains will be praying all day long over these, and then when we are finished, we will send them to Silent Unity for 30 days. You remember what carbon paper is? This is like a carbonless paper. I don't remember what it is, but I've read about it. But anyway, we would like for you to fill it out, leave the top sheet in the prayer box, and then go ahead and take the yellow sheet with you, and then you can be praying with us over your loved ones. So if you have any questions about that, ask any of our prayer chaplains. Also, World Day of Prayer at the Village this year is totally virtual, so there's not going to be any walk from the site to the Silent Unity building, any candlelight service, or any of that. However, the opening ceremonies are going to be on Zoom, and they're going to be beautiful. Linda Martello-Whitsitt, our author, we're studying right now is going to be taking part in them. That'll be on Wednesday evening, the 8th of September, but registration is necessary. It's not too hard, but there are kind of multi-steps to it. So Ann and I were talking the other day, and we're going to provide help for you to register. Anybody who needs it, you don't have to bring your computer. Ann or whoever's doing it will help you register right there. And so we're going to do that on August 29th and again on September 5th, helping people register for the service, which will be good. Okay, tickets are on sale also for the Murder Mystery Dinner Theater, which is going to be a lot of fun. Ruth, raise your hand. There's Ruth. She's selling them today, right? They are $50. It is a great deal. You get a theater, the Murder Mystery Theater, dinner, a nice buffet dinner, and open bar for the entire evening. So invite your family and friends. Tables can be reserved for 8 people or 10 people, or you can just show up and find somebody to sit with. So we're all looking forward to that. A fun and fundraiser, right? Also, tomorrow night is Ladies' Night Out, meeting at Fitz. Is that right, Mary? Where is she? Mary, right? On South Lindbergh. They need to call you, Mary, ahead of time if they're coming? Do people need to call you if they want to come? Okay, just come at 5:30 tomorrow evening. All women in the church are invited. So, and any of you watching online, we'd love to have you join us too. Also, this is the week that our hospitality ministry meets at 6 p.m. in the adult classroom on Wednesday. The meeting is short and sweet. It's from 6 to 6:50 because the board meets afterwards. So co-chairs are Ruth Emnett and Larry Lambert, which, again, Ruth, you already met Larry. Raise your hand. Talk to one of them if you'd like to join. A couple people signed up to join that ministry, so we hope you can come Wednesday evening, and it's open to everyone who'd like to come. They take part in planning all of our fundraisers and all of our social activities, so it's a very busy ministry. And you don't have to do a lot of cooking. Larry does most of the cooking, so don't be worried to sign up about that. Today's message is entitled The Truth of You, and so at this time, I would like to invite Ann Hartupee to read the daily word and lead us in prayer. Ann?
Good morning. Lynn, Mark, and I are humbled to be your prayer chaplains today. We'll be available after this service on either side of the sanctuary, and we really appreciate you observing our quiet zone where we pray with people. Everything we pray with you about is held in strictest confidence. Today's daily word: I say yes to the joy that invites me in this moment. Would you repeat it with me, please? I say yes to the joy that invites me in this moment. Joy is the call of my heart. Whether I am at work or at play, I bring a spirit of joyfulness to everything I do. More than a mood or an attitude, joy is part of me and mine to live and to share. Like all aspects of my divine identity, joy flowers in my consciousness when I hold joyful thoughts and feelings. I express my joy as the excitement of anticipation, fascination at a new discovery, deep satisfaction in a relationship, and the tranquil glow from communing with God in prayer. My joy is contagious, and I love to share it. I have feelings of joy when I take part in a friend's or family member's joyous moments, their celebrations and accomplishments. I feel quiet joy when I offer encouragement, and even when I give comfort, grateful to share the care and love of God. And from 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 16, rejoice always. And I invite you now to close your outer eyes for a moment as we pause to anchor into divine source, which cannot change and from which all good flows. poised and centered in the Christ mind. Realizing our oneness with God, we work with the joy and ease of Spirit expressing in us as us. We choose joy in all things and are grateful to share the care and love of God. And so it is. Amen. Our first congregational song today is I Am the Radiant Life of God. I invite you to stand if you are able. Here we go. I am the radiant life of God. I am, I am, I am. I am the radiant life of God. I am, I am, I am. The health of God, the strength of God, vitality, energy, vim of God. I am the radiant life of God. I am, I am, I am. I am the wonderful love of God. I am, I am, I am. I am the wonderful love of God. I am, I am, I am. The peace of God, the joy of God, serenity, harmony, rhythm of God. I am the wonderful love of God. I am, I am, I am. I am the wisdom and power of God. I am, I am, I am. I am the wisdom and power of God. I am, I am, I am. The light of God, success of God, prosperity, happiness, might of God. I am the wisdom and power of God. I am, I am, I am.
So today we actually end our Sunday series, at least, on the book, This Is Your Life. Discover your power, claim your wholeness, and heal your life, by authors Reverend Linda Martella Whitsitt and her daughter Alicia Whitsitt. As many of you know, the authors define wholeness as the absolute truth of you, the real original you with nothing missing, broken, or less than. And they see healing as the intentional, continuing practices of claiming your wholeness in every, yes, every single circumstance of your life. Last week, if you were with us, we explored two practices that help us do that. They were assert your power and celebrate your prosperity. Today, we're going to consider three additional practices for healing. And the first one is recognize your worth. Very important. In a parable told by the Indian Jesuit priest and psychotherapist Anthony DeMello, a woman had been critically ill and made her transition, and she suddenly found herself at the pearly gates waiting for entrance. So a voice boomed out loudly, "Who are you?" And she said, I'm the wife of the town mayor. And the voice responded, "I did not ask you who you were married to. I asked you who you are." And she said, "Well, I'm a school teacher." And the voice said, "I did not ask what your profession is. I asked what? Who you are." And then the woman said, thinking this would certainly win her some points for entry, she said, "Well, I'm a Christian." And the voice boomed back, "I didn't ask what religion you were. I asked who you are." And finally, just not even having any other answers, her last answer was, "Well, I know you'll know me. I'm the woman from my church who always helps out with the poor and the homeless." And the voice boomed back, "I didn't ask who you served. I asked who you are." And so it went. And apparently, the woman did not pass the entrance exam because she found herself back on earth, and when she fully recovered from her illness, she spent the rest of her life figuring out who she was. And that made all the difference. So I'm wondering what you would say and what I would say if somebody approached us and said, "Who are you?" The Whitsets say that most of us tend to answer this just like not naming our strengths, but saying, you know, what we've accomplished or what our roles are. However, they say, if we are asked to describe someone else, someone we know and respect, we tend to describe them differently. We tend to describe who they really are, what we admire and value about them. And so it seems like that we say things like maybe Alice is a true leader, or James is so compassionate, and the Whitsets say these kinds of comments, these are what are truly important. What their words are, this is truly important stuff, is the way they put that. So the question is, why is it that we are able to name those strengths in other people, but not in ourselves? Well, unfortunately, too often it seems like we're programmed by society, parents, teachers, and the media to believe there is something missing about ourselves, or broken or wrong. It has been said there will always be someone who doesn't see your worth. Don't let it be you. Don't take it in. For beyond human relationships, careers, and even service to others, we are here to be all that we can imagine the creative intelligence we call God to be. Each one of us has a unique and special role to play in bringing forth the nature of God on this earth. And it is our soul's purpose to absolutely draw upon our inner powers, those attributes of the divine, to activate them. Being aware of our divine wholeness and calling it forth enriches our lives and helps us stay centered and at peace, no matter what is happening in the outer world. And heaven knows right now there's a lot of happening in the outer world about which we are praying. So here's the thing. In the words of life coach Ilar Onawa, and these are her words, "In the land of plenty, I am already more than enough." This land of plenty is a wonderful, thriving place, a space of truth and love. In this land, I know to the core of my being that I am already whole, complete, and perfect, just as I am. This is true regardless of what I look like or what I have or have not accomplished. In this space, I have nothing to prove. I don't need to earn love. I am love. I am worthy and securely rooted in the reality of being enough, immersed in plenty, immersed in love. However, as some of us have sadly discovered in our lives, there also sometimes is a land of not enough. Now, when I'm in this space, I see only lack, limitation, and fear. I feel that need to prove myself. I don't feel loved or lovable. Okay, honestly now, nobody outside the room can see you. I can only see you. How many have been there? How many of us have felt that way? We don't feel worthy. We don't feel loved. We just feel like something is missing. And of course, then we worry about our own worthiness. Now, this land can feel real. If you're in the middle of it, it feels like a real place. But it is not the truth. Do not enter. It's not the truth of our being. So in any challenging situation, I can ask myself, which land am I choosing? What story am I telling myself? What inner dialogue is running through my mind? Reverend Linda and Alicia say we can learn to dwell in the land of plenty, in effect, by conditioning our consciousness with affirmative, true I am statements, such as I am loving, I am resilient, I am goodness, I am worthy. Say the two that are on the screen with me, will you? And say them like you really mean them. Feel them at the core of your being. Ready? I am loving, I am worthy. Knowing and believing that we are loving and worthy, the next step toward claiming our wholeness, the Whitsets say, is to heal our relationships. We are social beings. We talked about this last week. We need one another. The authors note that within our relationships, we have a chance to see ourselves more clearly and behave more compassionately than we ever could if we were in isolation, if we were somehow stranded on a desert island. We wouldn't have this opportunity. When we feel conflict in a relationship, we feel conflict in ourselves. And in order to heal our relationships, the authors say, we first have to heal our own minds and hearts. They suggest 3 simple ways to do this. Now, I have to admit, they are simple but not necessarily easy. The first one is, don't rush to conclusions. One of my teachers at the village, Reverend Paul Hesselbeck, often said, we human beings are judgment machines. It's part of our humanness. We tend to prejudge, rush to conclusions, and misinterpret others. Once, I was doing a workshop using one of my very favorite children's books of all time. It's called Owl Moon. Some of you may have read it to your kids and grandkids. And I was doing my thing, and I looked out, and there was a woman in the very front seat, sound asleep. Well, now here's the thing. The backstory to this was a neighbor of mine had begged me to do this workshop. I was doing it free of charge, and I was even taking a vacation day to do it because my neighbor told me that these teachers had never had a workshop in their lives, and they wanted to learn how to use children's literature as model for writing, which is a great thing to do. So there I was doing the workshop, look out, the woman's sound asleep. So, I look at her, and running through my mind, I thought, well, how ungrateful, how unprofessional. I should just leave now. This woman does not deserve me being up here. The ego kicked in. And so I finished the book. Immediately, I posed a question. The woman's hand is waving in the air, and I'm thinking, oh, well, she woke up at least, And so I called on her, and she said, oh, my goodness. She said, when you were reading that, I had my eyes closed, and I could picture every single bit of the description of the story. I felt myself in the woods and hearing the owl and hearing all of the sounds. And then she proceeded to go on to share with the whole group ways she would use that book in her classroom, okay? My judgment was wrong. And by the way, from now on, when I see your eyes closed, I'm not going to take it personally, okay? I learned that, okay? So the point is, sometimes we do rush to conclusions, and sometimes we rush to conclusions when people need us the most. In the book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, which is still a great book, Stephen Covey tells this story. Some of you know it. I'm going to do it pretty much word for word in his words. He says, I remember a mini paradigm shift I experienced one Sunday morning on a New York subway. People were sitting quietly, some reading newspapers or books, some gazing out the window, some resting. It was a calm, peaceful scene. Then suddenly, a man and his children entered the subway car. The children were so loud and rambunctious that instantly the whole climate in the car changed. The father sat down next to me and closed his eyes, apparently oblivious to the situation. The children were running back and forth, yelling, throwing things, and knocking people's belongings out of their hands. It was extremely disturbing. Yet the father, sitting next to me, did nothing. It was really difficult not to feel irritated. I could not believe that he could be so insensitive as to let his children run wild like that and take no responsibility. It was easy to see that everybody on the subway felt exactly as I did. So, finally, in what I felt was unusual patience and remarkable restraint, I turned to him and said, "Sir, your children are disturbing a lot of people. I wonder if you couldn't control them a little more." The man lifted his gaze, as if to come to consciousness of the situation for the first time, and said softly, "Oh, you're right. I guess I should do something about it. The thing is, we just came from the hospital where their mother died about an hour ago. I don't know what to do, and I guess they don't know how to handle it either." So back to Covey's words, he writes, "Can you imagine how I felt at that moment? Suddenly I saw things differently, and because I saw them differently, I thought differently. I behaved differently. My irritation vanished. I didn't have to worry about controlling my attitude or my behavior. My heart was filled with the man's pain. Feelings of sympathy and compassion flowed freely. And I said to him, "Oh my goodness, your wife just died? I am so sorry. Can you tell me about it? Can I do anything to help?" In that moment, everything changed in an instant. And the thing is, anytime we rush to judgment about a person, we shut ourselves off from knowing the real truth because we think we know the truth. And we can never know the truth about another human being without hearing their story. It's been said, you can't know a person's story by the chapter you walked in on. I love that quote. But when we hear someone's story, the truth behind who they are, where they've come from, and what they've experienced, often we go to sympathy, or empathy, I really should say, and understanding. The Witzits remind us, and this is a little scary, that even the small judgments and momentary unkind thoughts that we hold add up over time to disharmony in relationships. Remember, thoughts in mind reproduce what? Their own kind. Have you ever noticed that when you get aggravated at a loved one, suddenly, all of a sudden, that person can do absolutely nothing right? Have you ever noticed that? It's human nature. And our authors say the way you manage the little things can make a huge difference in how you respond when the big ones arise. Remember, when you judge others, you do not define them, you define yourself. And the question is, are our responses to other human beings aligned in the truth we are? Are they aligned in love? Are they aligned in compassion or not? And a second factor in healing our relationships is set reasonable expectations for ourselves and others. Now, we all have expectations for ourselves, and if asked, we probably would say they're reasonable. However, many of them clearly are not reasonable. Some of them, I think, are tied to a sense of unworthiness. We expect ourselves to be all things to all people, to work in 100% efficiency every moment, to be perfect partners, perfect parents, perfect friends, to have boundless energy with no need for rest. Now, this may sound familiar to you. I work 12 hours a day. I exercise 7 days a week. I prepare healthy meals at home instead of going out, and it's all paying off. Finally, I'm too tired to care about being perfect. I know you probably can't read the caption, but that's what it said. So not only do we sometimes put impossible expectations on ourselves, but the Witzits say we have an unfortunate tendency to impose unrealistic expectations on other people. Too often we expect our loved ones to fulfill us, to meet every single need. And while it's wonderful to have loving partnerships and friendships, and it's also good to specifically verbalize what we need and want from the relationship, we must realize that nothing outside of ourselves can ever complete us. We are already whole. The Witzits advice, learn instead to allow yourself to be self-determining and allow others to be self-determining and independent also. It's an awful responsibility on the other person to expect him or her to fulfill us. It really is. So the third factor is reconcile, don't condemn. The authors write, our tendency to condemn rather than reconcile, to reject rather than to accept, can derail our own attempts at healing. Maybe we don't think about those things being related, but they are. They say we must seek to understand and harmonize, to be humble and noble, rather than putting forth negative thoughts and criticism. This whole issue of forgiveness is possible only when we become willing to recognize that all of us are capable of helpful as well as harmful behavior. In our human skins, we can and will hurt one another. Learning to forgive and reconcile means using our combined powers of love and wisdom. It certainly does not mean suffering abuse or enabling another human being. Sometimes it's about practicing self-love, and sometimes it means lovingly walking away. My husband and I knew a couple that were married for, I think, well over 25 years, and he was a raging alcoholic, not in recovery at all, and she was extremely overweight. When she finally had the courage to end the marriage, he got sober and she lost 100 pounds. And today they're good friends, co-grandparenting their grandchildren. So sometimes we do have to just lovingly release people in our lives. During the Sermon on the Mount, when Jesus taught turn the other cheek, which is very appropriate to this conversation, it didn't mean, as I said, to take abuse. It certainly meant just to turn to a higher form of energy, from condemnation and revenge to love and compassion. Bible scholar Ed Townley interprets this teaching this way. He says, nothing is more damaging to our strength and well-being than allowing stress and anger to block us from feeling the power and joy of God's love. Now, to be clear, there's no place that God is not. God is everywhere. If God seems far away, guess who moved, right? And we move when our hearts are so full of that anger that we don't allow the love of God to flow. And Townley says, if we never allow anyone's behavior to create a block in us, then we allow God's eternal presence to fully express every moment, and no matter what is going on, we will prevail. So the final practice in our wholeness is, maybe it's a little surprising, it is manage your pain. It's about pain. So the authors say pain is a particular feeling that is subjective and generally hard to describe. Physical pain is easier to name, locate, and comprehend, but emotional, mental pain is just as real. Either way, here's the big takeaway from this. Pain is not to be ignored. It's like feelings. When you stuff them, they'll come back in a more intense way. The Whitsits advise us to lean in, pay attention to, and do whatever we can to remember our wholeness and take good care of ourselves and be open to different kinds of care for ourselves. As author Carolyn Hack says regarding the pain of grief, and I just know that a lot of people have had a lot of grief the past year, and we recently just lost a beloved family member of our church, Janine, and we hold her in prayer. An email about that this week. But here's what Carolyn Hack says about the pain of grief. She says, feeling the pain is in the unrelenting flood of it at the beginning, then in waves as waters start to recede, then intermittently, I can't talk today, throughout your life, feel it wash over you. That's how you get through it. Not to ignore it, not to pretend it's not there, but to know that the pain you feel immediately will eventually subside. The pain is going to find you whether you let it or not. And when you give yourself over to it, she says, you take the intensity up front and get started early on with the body's process of adjusting. We would say with the body and soul's process of reconnecting to your wholeness. She goes on, I've often said that the intense emotions are hard to sustain. We adapt to them and to the changes that brought them. Eventually we do. So you won't love or miss your loved ones any less. We know that. Through time, you will just be able to think of him or her without the acute sense of loss. In time, you will be able to see this yearning as a way of keeping your loved one's memory close. You hurt so much because the person meant so much to you, and you were lucky to have had one another. Doesn't that make sense about grief? It really does. So pain and suffering, like all feelings, basically are messengers. Reverend Jim Rosemergy says, sometimes we're in pain because we're unwilling to make the connection or learn from the experience. He says if you're accidentally put your finger on a hot stove and you withdraw your finger, that's taking care of the problem right away, but there's something else to learn, and that is your finger was not meant for hot stoves. So we have something that we need, like a lesson that we need to take away from it. Now that doesn't mean that God sends that to teach us, I don't think, but everything that happens on this plane of existence, we can learn from it. So he says, your greater work, no matter what happens, is to enter the storm of your own feelings and find the eye of the storm. We've talked about this before. Find the eye of the storm where there is only peace. There is only love. Whether our pain is physical or emotional, resisting it only makes it intensify. As we move to the center of the storm, the intensity diminishes. And he says, we enter the storm of grief so that we can live again. We enter the storm of a doctor's diagnosis so that we can connect to the wholeness that does not even depend on the state of our physical bodies. And we enter the storm of anger and resentment so that we can forgive and love again. And the Witset's right, that when we look back at life's rough spots, we can always find ways in which we grew from them. How many have found that to be true? I can look back on times in my life that I thought, why is this happening to me? And I wouldn't be the person I am today without them. They shape us and they give us purpose. Admittedly, it's hard, Witset say, to feel goodness and gratitude when we are in the thick of pain. Maybe that's too unrealistic and too much to ask. However, remember Brian's beginning song, God is always everywhere. And if God is there, good is there, goodness is there, and we can always, even in the midst of life's traumas, find small things for which to be grateful and to celebrate. And so, as we end this series today, the most important takeaway, I think, is for us all to set the intention to realize that wholeness is the truth of us. Wholeness is the truth of you. It is who you are. You are one in a power and presence greater than anything that you're going to have happen to you on this plane of existence, and you have the powers to prevail always. In this consciousness, every single one of us can discover our amazing power, claim our wholeness, and heal our lives. And so it is. And so let's just take a moment now in preparation for prayer and meditation to affirm the great truth about the divine that makes all this possible. Together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and at work in my life. God, the good, omnipotent, and so it is.
In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Love is there. In the silence, where every color blends and every rainbow ends, good is there. Silence, your path is paved in gold, and all your dreams unfold. Love is there. Peace is there. Truth is there.
And so now I invite you to close your outer eyes if you have not already done so. Become comfortable in your seat wherever you are, just letting your seat fully and completely support you. Relax your body, being especially sensitive to any areas of tightness, tension, or pain, and take a deep, cleansing, restorative breath. Hold it for a few seconds, and then gently, slowly release. It only takes one conscious breath to become fully attuned to this sacred moment. And as you continue breathing in and breathing out, feel the breath of life enter your lungs, and with every exhale, just release any fears, worries, or thoughts of less than, thoughts of not enough. Just let them go. And in this moment of centered awareness, from this sacred place of stillness, realize who you are. You are an individualized expression of the divine, one with the universe, one with all of life, one in the unconditional love of God. All the powers of the Christ are your divine birthright. As Unity co-founder Charles Fillmore wrote, you are on this earth to be all that you can imagine God to be. You are on this earth to be love, faith, strength. You are on this earth to live from the truth of you. If anyone in your past or present has led you to believe you are unworthy, they were simply mistaken. Don't let them and their error thoughts, their error advice, live rent-free in your head. If you yourself have made past mistakes or errors, don't let them define you either. The past is over. You don't live there anymore. You were born in original goodness, and goodness is the truth of you. You are on this earth to express the love of God, to love yourself and others the way Spirit loves. No conditions, no expectations, no judgments. And with every action you contemplate, be willing to ask yourself, is this action I'm considering? Is this decision I'm making? Is this relationship I'm entering into? Is it about the truth of my being, or is it coming from a place of victimhood? And if the answer is yes, that it's coming from the truth of your being, you will be acting from a position of love and wholeness, never from a position of fear. So right now, right here, in this quiet moment, ask yourself, where does the truth of my being lie in me? For any situation in your life where you need to discover your power, claim your wholeness, and heal, take this into your heart now. Take the situation into your heart now for a few moments in the silence, knowing that you are being guided to know and be revealed more and more of the truth of you. In the silence, see yourself walking in wholeness. In the silence, paint a new picture of your divine identity. Now, in the silence. And now, as we come together as a greater spiritual community, those of you in the room and those of you out in the world, we support one another in love and prayer. For this, our hearts are full of gratitude, and we say, in the name and through the power of the eternal Christ, thank you, God, and so it is. Amen.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see spin, traveling in a world of our creation. What you'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want, do it. Want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to If you want to view magic lands, look around and see one. Wanna be a dream, be one. Anytime you please, and please save me one. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to Steve Schenkel.
Thank you, Brian, Clark, and Steve, for your beautiful music throughout the service. We appreciate it so much. I love that song, Pure Imagination. We know imagination is a spiritual power, and it's one way that we visualize and see our wholeness. So that was perfect. Thank you so much. So now we're at that time of our service where we pause and reflect and give thanks for our many blessings. We so appreciate your continued financial support, as well as your good wishes, notes of encouragement, and most of all, your prayers. Whether you are a longtime member of First Unity or joining us for the first time today, you are important to our spiritual community. So we know and affirm that we are one with divine source and with one another. In that oneness, please join me in blessing our many gifts. Together, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And at this time, I'd like to invite everyone to stand if you are willing and able and sing. We're not gonna circle up, but hopefully this will make us feel together. Sing, "Let There Be Peace on Earth." And while we're getting ready for that, let's give Ann Hartupee a hand for being our song leader today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be with God.
Thank you. You may be seated if you would like. So, first of all, I'd like to invite everybody to come down after service. We not only have our normal coffee and snacks and conversation, but the Browns, who are downstairs right now working, help me, Renee and Paul, way during COVID, over a year ago, wanted to do a little something for the spiritual community for all of your many kindnesses to Paul during his 2 very serious surgeries. So they have, I believe it's biscuits and gravy, and they have both turkey, sausage, and regular sausage. So everybody is welcome to come down. So, yeah. Thank you, Paul and Renee. They're downstairs. So now, all of you, thank you for being here today. We haven't quite figured out how to deliver the biscuits and gravy online, but maybe we'll work on that. So, thank you for being here. We look forward to seeing everybody again next week. We appreciate all of you who are liking us on Facebook and sharing our posts, subscribing to our YouTube channel, and following us on Instagram. In oneness, please know we are holding all of you in the sacred space of light, love, peace, and wholeness. I want to say one other thing, and that is next week, if all goes, as they used to say in West Virginia, God willing, and the creek don't dry, so I think the way they said it, Ann and I will be at the Village for the Fillmore Festival. So Reverend Lee will be here next week. Hope will be doing platforming. I'd like you all to come and support her and support our musicians, and we'll be back the following week. So now I invite everyone to join together in saying our expanded version of the Prayer for Protection. This is a version on our website that celebrates the power of God and our own oneness, our own divine identity. So together, the light of God surrounds us. We are the light. The love of God enfolds us. We are the love. The power of God protects us. We are the power. The presence of God watches over us. The presence indwells us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And our service will end today with a musical closing by Brian Clark performing What If, right?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Brian.
This song basically wrote itself. It was for a service, and I wrote it between 4 in the morning and 7, right before the service. What if we looked upon the earth and we recognized the image of God? What if we knew that she could feel and had hopes and wept when she felt alone? What if we chose to listen? Do you suppose her 4 winds would say, what if the world we leave for our children springs from the choices we make today? What if? What if? What if we saw this country as a shining light up on a hill? What if we said to one another, I admire you for the differences we have? And what if we spread compassion to the world, not just our way of life? And what if love was just as real as a house or a car or the power of the bomb? What if? What if? What if we ourselves and we recognized the image of God? What if we saw all limitations as a myth and a mirage? And what if we dared to believe we could turn that handle and walk out that door free, finally free? What if we took it all one day at a time, pretend we could make it better than this, allowing our imaginations to find a newer world in our minds? And what if then we really began to believe, pouring light into each minute of our lives, and the love from our hearts would fill everything we see, till the earth would look just like heaven? What if brothers? What if sisters?